Hey sketchy friends, so in today's video I just wanted to talk about creative sketchbooking for beginners and how you get started. So what is creative sketchbooking? I think it's, using sketchbooks more creatively than just what we might think of traditionally, where you would be doing traditional exercises that you might do at like art school or something, where you're doing a lot of pencil studies or lots of studies of other artists, or I don't know, just more that traditional sense. Whereas creative sketchbooking is like, you can go wild, you can do whatever you want. So I've got some examples here, which I do have a video on this sketchbook because I do believe it is my most experimental sketchbook to date. This is a Stillman & Burn, Stillman & Burn Epsilon sketchbook, which initially I wasn't a massive fan of. And then I got to using it more and I just fell in love with it. So, it's a great place for experiments. Obviously, there's lots of travel sketching and urban sketching in here, but through messing around in my sketchbook, I was making these kind of crazy sweeps of colour, and I was like, wouldn't it be cool if I just drew on top of that? So that's what happened here and here and here. So a lot of that in here, just because I discovered that way of sketching and I just loved it. So I went really wild with it. And you'll see that in the video tour of this. Lots of demos as well, which it helps because, I'm doing a lot of experimenting all the time because of my membership club, Pretty Sketchy Club, where we're always trying out different things. So yeah, so that's kind of what I mean by creative sketchbooking, or what I think generally is meant, is just, mixing techniques, experimenting. I mean, some people might just see that as like just normal sketchbooking, really. But yeah, hopefully this video will just inspire you for various ways of using your sketchbook, rather than just very literal ways of recording things. So this is an example of one of the crazy backgrounds. This one was so crazy that I decided just not to draw on top of it because I actually just really liked it on its own. Things like leaving lots of white space and only painting certain bits. So, a sketchbook is your playground, blind contour drawings. And what's great in a sketchbook like this is like, I'm not so precious. Actually, this is one of my favourite sketches, but it just didn't feel too precious, so I just went wild in it. So for me, this is my most creative sketchbook to date, I think. So, but it's not all about just going wild in your sketchbook. It can be a bit more about just recording your daily life. I really liked how this spread came out here. So just sat at a hotel with some sketching buddies one morning, sketched my coffee, sketched a little plant on the table, and then sketched this scene of a bit of the hotel that I could see, Yeah, and that's just like a little journal page. Again here with my food and my drink. So obviously this channel talks a lot about urban sketching and travel sketching and stuff. So, but like daily recording of life and not really worrying too much about whether it's a pretty drawing or not takes the pressure off a lot. So my friend made me this sketchbook with these beautiful coloured paper in it, just normal paper, nothing, to write home about. Definitely won't be using watercolour on this paper. But yeah, just trying out colour paper because it's like not something I've done before. Just drawing my living room, really nothing spectacular, but just making little notes as well. I think that's a really fun way to tell a story of what's going on. My living room again, just from another angle. And my living room again, when I got back from a trip, I just wanted to draw stuff. And I'm not worried about whether this is a pretty drawing or not. This is a really ugly one, but I was so stuck and I just didn't want to draw, and I was like not in a good space. And I was like, I'm just going to make an ugly drawing and I'm just going to draw, really basically and really whatever. And then I wrote some notes about how I was feeling, Again, still a little bit of a slump here, but I was like, I'm just lying on the bed with my cat. And I thought, let me draw her, and I'm actually really loving this page. And again, just drawing the things on the table, not being concerned whether it's a good drawing or not. I haven't finished this one, but this is as much as I got done in the time that I had, and that's okay. Like, I'm okay with that, you know. So this is what I mean about creative sketchbooking, and I'll just show you one more example. This one's quite old. I think I did do a video on this one. I was messing around in this Hahnemühle grey book with markers, and I actually really love how the watercolour markers I was using, and I didn't use them with water because again this paper is not good for water-based media, but I just think it was like came out really striking, you know. So there are some ways and means of getting started with your creative sketchbook that I'd like to touch on. One of those ways is taking classes, for example. So I'm a big fan, as you guys know, I'm a bit of an addict actually, to Domestika as one of my favourite places to learn things. But also don't underrate just looking for inspiration. So things like Pinterest is really good for getting in the zone, you know. I really love just scrolling through things on Pinterest, and the more things you start to pin that you like, then the algorithm shows you more stuff like that, and you just, I mean, it's a bit of a rabbit hole, but I've got loads of boards set up over there, so you're more than welcome to go and check out my boards on urban sketching and sketchbook artists sketchbooking. That's where I discovered that I wanted to try out collage and urban sketching mixed together, which was really, really fun. I also have a video showing my process on that, which I'll link to in the corner here if you want to check out more of that. So one of the first classes that I want to mention on Domestika that I've been taking recently, just checking out, is an illustrated diary by David Morales. A lot of people will already know of David. He kind of became well known in sketching circles because he decided to draw every single day, which is like quite a feat in itself. And his illustrations are really cool. They're really graphic, really clean. I like that he's a bit of a minimalist in terms of the fact that he just draws with pen. He mainly does black and white sort of drawings, but he does add a touch of accent colour sometimes. And one of my favourite things about Domestika classes, and I've said this before, but the My Story bit and the Influences bit, which are usually the first two videos in every single course, I really love that they keep that consistent across every single course. I just really enjoy learning about that person's journey into how they got to what they're doing. I just find it really fascinating. So David's background is in architecture, and I suppose maybe that's where his interest in wanting to draw came from. I know his dad was also an artist and he drew a lot as a kid. But yeah, just looking through his notebooks, his sketchbooks, his illustrated diaries are just really, really fun. So if you like David's style of illustration from what I'm showing here, or if you want to go and check him out on Instagram, then yeah, I really recommend taking this class because he's a lot more structured in how he draws and he shows his cross-hatching technique. He's reasonably precise. There's a method behind what he's doing. If that kind of style of drawing appeals to you, then I think you'll really enjoy this course. The audio is in Spanish, but there is subtitles. I know for some people they're not a fan of that. I personally am absolutely fine with subtitles. It does just mean that you need to actually read the subtitles whilst you're watching the class, and sometimes I'm a bit guilty of doing other things whilst watching a class at the same time, so I just listen to the audio. But obviously with ones that are not in my first language, which is English, then I do need to pay attention a little bit more, but that's no bad thing. So yeah, so this is one way of being creative with your sketchbook, like I showed you in my colour page sketchbook earlier, just drawing daily life, just drawing whatever's around you. You know, a lot of the time I am in the house, I'm at my desk, I'm at the laptop, I'm sitting on the sofa for half an hour, having a break. Obviously I work from home, so you know, a lot of the things I draw are just things around the house or things around me because that's what's accessible to me in that moment where I want to draw, and there's nothing wrong with that. But also, you know, try and force myself to go out of the house sometimes and also do some urban sketching as well. And then when I'm lucky enough to go on trips, I love to do some travel sketching. So, you know, I've got some video sketchbook tours on some of those as well if you want to check out. The other thing about David that I like is he likes sketching mundane things that people overlook, and I also really enjoy that as well. I think there's a lot of beauty in mundane objects or subjects. I do have a video where I sketched just a washing up stick, but it was just so much fun to sketch because it had interesting colours and textures, and you know, it's a simple object, but you can actually have a lot of fun with drawing it. So yeah, there's really never any excuse to not draw, because there's always something around you to draw, and hopefully his class will inspire you in that regard. Another way that you can use your sketchbook, and this is basically going to the opposite end of the spectrum, staying in the same kind of vein in regards to illustrated life journaling, that kind of thing, but in terms of a completely different illustration style. There is a class by Kate Sutton, who's a freelance illustrator. She's been a freelance illustrator for 15 years, and you know, she's done things with Lonely Planet and various kind of ethical clothing chains, and like big stuff that she's done, which again you get to hear about in her About Me video, along with her influences. So a lot of like children's book illustration and stuff, which really speaks to me. It's something that I've developed a love for just very recently, i.e. in the last kind of 1 to 2 years. Before that, it just never really was in my world view, if that makes sense. But yeah, I'm really enjoying illustrators who aren't necessarily children's book illustrators, but are inspired by that style. I find it very interesting, like how they kind of bring that together into their own illustration style. So, you know, this is very much the opposite end of the spectrum. Again, if you want to be a bit more freeform and you want to play a bit more and a bit more mixed media and a bit more kind of playful illustration style, then I really recommend Kate's class. She's focusing on like the mindfulness aspect of it. If you enjoy like drawing nature and animals and stuff like that, then that's really cool. So she sort of talks about daily gratitude and drawing what you ate or what you did or what you saw and that kind of thing. And she's got a really fun illustration style that I think is not overwhelming. So if you like the look of Kate's work, then I highly recommend her class. Really good for beginners as well. The audio is in English, so if that's your first language, then that's cool. But again, they've got subtitles in all different languages. And you know, there's some more materials going on in this one. It's not as minimalist as David, but David's is for those of you who want to learn or are very interested in a bit more of a precise, structured drawing process, then I would recommend his one. And then another way to use your creative sketchbook is to just kind of go wild, really. And I've just discovered the teacher Alfonso de Anda on Domestika. So he's got a couple of courses on Domestika, but the one that I've just recently watched is his one about sketchbooking. He's got another one about making zines, which I used to love making zines when I was younger, and I used to go to all the zine festivals in like Brighton and London, and over the years I've just sort of forgotten about them, but seeing that they're kind of almost making a comeback, or maybe that's just in my own head, I'm getting really excited about them again, so I might have to look into that one day, but I don't know where I'm going to find the time. But anyway, so he's got a course called Daily Sketchbook Drawing, Developing Your Artist Eye. This one's also in English, even though Alfonso is Mexican. So his zine course is in Spanish, but this one's in English. And he's just really fun. He's got a really interesting background. He's really influenced by cartoons like Dexter, like that kind of era of cartoons. He's really into making stuff as well with his hands, like little toys and things like that. So he's really like an all-rounder. He's also super into skateboarding and painting murals and making zines and stickers. So yeah, really fun guy. And he presents so well. His style of presentation, like it's really natural and you feel like you're sitting down talking to a friend. I really like that. One of my favourite videos in his course is one on mindset, which I also talk about a bit here and there, not in any structured way, but I do feel like it's a really important part of creating art and getting started with art, but also continuing your process, especially when you're sort of sketchbooking and that kind of thing. And I think it's a really important subject. So he talks a lot about going through ugly stages, or which I have mentioned in your drawing, or producing ugly drawings and like getting bummed out and that kind of thing. But actually it's not about sitting down and putting all this pressure on yourself to make like the most amazing drawing ever. Otherwise, you know, you're just not going to continue drawing. I mean, how much pressure and anxiety do you want to put on yourself? He's like, it's actually about, what did he say? I want to get this right because it's really important. Actually, sorry, this was David Morales that said this. I apologise. He said that it's not about aiming for a perfect drawing. So he also talks about mindset, David Morales, in the first class I mentioned. So it's not about an artistic goal or searching for the perfect drawing, but rather just capturing a moment so that you keep that memory forever. I just think that's basically the entire focus of illustrated journaling or travel sketching. You're really not trying to make a beautiful picture that's going to be in a gallery or on your wall. You're just trying to record that moment in time of your life. I really agree with that, and that really stuck with me. So that was David Morales that said that. But Alfonso kind of goes along the same lines as well. Just keep drawing, just keep having fun. He said some of the drawings that he makes, he hates at the time, and then he'll look at them a week or so later and be like, actually, that's really not bad. And then maybe even a week or two later than that, he might be like, I actually really like that. That has happened to me as well. That exact thing has happened to me where I hate the drawing at the time. And then, you know, a few weeks or months later, I revisit it and I'm like, I don't know why I didn't like this so much. I actually think this is fine. So he breaks his course up in a bit of a different way, where he encourages you to draw for an hour a day for 30 days, but he breaks up the subject or themes into weeks. So the first week is drawing people, living things and environments. The second week is drawing objects, third week is drawing from imagination, and fourth week is drawing narrative, like almost making comic strips of what's going on around you, or I suppose what you're thinking. So I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed the first one, which was drawing people and environments, because he started drawing the film crew of Domestica whilst they're in front of him, and they looked really awkward. So I found that really funny. But he also draws in a very childlike way, which I think really helps as a beginner, because it takes that pressure off, like it having to look traditionally what we think of as absolutely amazing and realistic. He definitely draws like a child, and he would be the first one to put his hand up to that. But he makes drawing really fun, and it makes you just want to pick up your sketchbook and just do it, which is exactly what happened. I just had to go and get my sketchbook and draw my office whilst listening to his course, because yeah, he just made me want to draw. He made me think like, oh, I can do this, you know. So those are a few different ways that you can start creative sketchbooking. You can draw your life, draw whatever's around you, draw what you're grateful for, draw from your imagination, and drawing narratives. And I think these three courses in particular lately they're very different from each other. So, you know, I encourage you to sort of look at the trailers and look at each of their work and decide which one might be for you. Domestica do have a Black Friday sale on right now, if you're watching this when it's released, where every single course is $7.99 USD or equivalent in your currency. So I think that's one of their best deals they've ever done. I'm definitely thinking of buying a couple more that are on my ever-increasing wish list. But I hope this has inspired you, and I hope it also shows you that there are a range of people drawing in their sketchbook with a range of different styles, and no one style is better than the other. Just go with what attracts you the most and go and learn from that person. And just more importantly, just draw and have fun drawing. So I hope this has been an inspiring video for you guys. Do check out the Black Friday sale over on Domestica. I do have a book coming out very shortly called The Beginner's Guide to Urban Sketching, so you can check that out as well. And I'm also doing one travel vacation workshop next year in 2024, just the one, and it is filling up. So that is going to Spain. It's a week-long itinerary, and I'm going to be teaching and sketching with you every single day in multiple locations in Spain. So do check out the links in the description for this video below, and I will see you in the next one.